Neil,
What's up, Cal?
how you doing today?
Doing real well. Thank you. Thank
All
you,
right.
brother. How about you?
I'm doing great. So this is actually part one of the season one finale.
Yes.
And I couldn't be happier because we have Andrew Winn with us.
I can't even believe it.
I know, from Agents of Good Roots. Andrew, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome, Andrew. I honestly can't even believe it.
I know. It's crazy. So
Flattered. Yeah, flattered you called.
Well, absolutely. And just to take us back, I mean, I graduated high school in '93, and I was, doing my research, and that's when you guys actually formed the band.
Yeah, we were in Richmond, and I met Brian Jones. He was at University of Richmond, and I always said VCU, and there was sort of a lot of energy around that area of the Mid-Atlantic with music. You had Dave Matthews percolating there, really with a groundswell. Other acts like Everything, you might remember them, The Hooch, Pat McGee, just a lot
Pat
of
McGee, yes,
in that area. Yeah. So it's good to be a part of it. And that was right when we were starting to kind of really create a lot of music together. It was great.
So it was, you guys all met then kind of in college, college age or whatever.
Well, sort of. I met Brian, the drummer, songwriter. I met him when he was at Richmond around 92, 93.
Okay.
I've known Stuart Myers, the bass player from Roanoke and high school. So, we had messed around back in Roanoke with some projects. And then he went to William and Mary. And so we stayed in touch, and, really good bass player. So that was already there. And then we worked with some different saxophonists.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's the one thing three of them?
Yeah, three of them.
So, I mean, that you mentioned kind of the band, with the sax and everything. That's one thing that really drew me to you, was that unique sound. And then, of course, the voice,
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably have heard that, your unique voice, and then, of course, the horns in the background. I mean, it's an amazing sound.
Looking back on it, it's I have a greater appreciation for that. I mean, young people always want to kind of fit in. They don't want to stick out. But, in music, it's kind of nice. It's for all that we went through and all the travels and ups and downs. When I look back, it's like, man, that just really sounds like us. It's very distinct, which is nice.
That's funny you say that. Like, everybody, it's all individual, it's all subjective. Everybody has their own likes and just music and everything. I was thinking about that on the way here. I'm like, there's somebody listening to Sum 41 right now, and damn, I love, and I'm a kind of a fan, but I mean, that's what everybody loves. They love their own individual music. I grew up loving REM, Morrissey, I'm like, and then people are like, Morrissey, why don't you go kill yourself? I'm like, get out of here. No, I love Morrissey, the Smiths, so
no, I don't want to look for another co-host.
So, but I like that idea, like,
yeah, I mean, you just get a little older, you get a better appreciation for just kind of embracing what you do and letting it be what it is. And just kind of let what you do well speak through, and then let that resonate with anyone it resonates with. And it is not going to resonate with everybody, and that's
absolutely
okay.
We have learned that
that's amazing.
That's a hard lesson to learn for musicians.
I just heard that just yesterday. You're gonna fail and fail and fail, and that's what makes you eventually succeed. So
that's right.
Yeah.
No matter what, though, we're here with you today. So we're somewhere.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I'll take it.
And so you obviously mentioned you're from Richmond, and
the band, I think.
Band, yeah, kind of originated out of Richmond, and you mentioned Dave Matthews, right, from Virginia as well, right? And
yeah, he was in the Charlottesville area. Yeah.
Charlottesville, yep.
Gotcha.
But I was trying to think back, like when was I first introduced to Agents of Good Roots? And
I'm not sure.
I was in college, and I remember Dave Matthews was like my freshman year. So I saw him at a real small theater, like 2,000 people, front row. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm pretty sure that's probably where I ended up hooking up with you guys. Because
Well,
I think, did you do some like touring or something, or open up for him a few times, or?
We did. That was later on.
Okay.
We had, with similar genre. I mean, I think back then people tried to like say more that we sound like Dave Matthews.
Yeah.
Wanted to sound.
I'm gonna. No,
I don't think that's
insinuate. Yeah, I didn't want to insinuate that out because I don't think so. And
no, I think back in the day,
back then.
Yeah, I've always felt that you guys have aged much better than they have, to be honest. I go back and listen to some of your stuff, and it's just such a wide range, and some of it's super powerful, and then you kind of slow some of it down, and it just, I think it's aged really well. And I'm super excited because it looks like you guys kind of been dabbling back in it a little bit.
Yeah, man, I've really, really re-fallen in love with music in a very concrete, deep way. And I mean, in a different way, like very much of like, this is just, you have a limited amount of time on this planet. What are you going to start doing? Now I work, to put meat on the table and make some money and take care of the basics. But luckily, there's a little bit of bandwidth left after that.
Bandwidth, I love it.
I've really been doing a lot of music, and it's been a lot of fun.
So, kind of piggyback that. When is your like next show? Are you doing individual things, or are you?
Yeah. Just a little quick recap. So,
Sorry.
A few shows around 2018 and into 2019 and 20, and then we made a few little recordings, which I think are on Spotify and other platforms. You can check them out.
Awesome.
But recently we played some shows. Had a show in Richmond that was really nice. It was well attended. But
is that Broadberry?
Yeah, at the Broadberry.
Yeah.
Richmond. And then we played out in San Francisco.
Oh, nice.
For a big birthday party for a 50-year-old's birthday party.
No kidding.
Well, shit, I was for a couple of years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was out in the woods, the redwoods. It was beautiful.
Awesome.
And I don't know, it just felt really good. It was nice to really just sort of sit in the music instead of kind of reaching towards the music. Just be in it.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, because neither of us are musicians. We're fans. Like I love hearing that about your experience that you guys actually have. You're going through it.
This circle of sound in the moment is where is your territory. It's where it feels warm.
Oh wow!
And just get into that.
And
then if those impulses and ripples resonate with other listeners, great. If not,
right. And that's what we feel as listeners and fans, and we're like, oh my gosh, I do the same thing. Like, oh my gosh, I wonder what they're thinking. And I'm like, I'm feeling great. I bet you they are too.
That's what it was. I remember I got my hands on One by One.
Yeah.
On the album, right? And
absolutely.
Neil was like the first person. I'm like, dude, you got to listen to this, immediately. And it was funny because it's like you said, it's not for everyone, and some people you play it and they're like, what is this, And
no, it's not for everyone.
They just like, whatever, and then there's some like, what is this? But their interest is there.
Every damn song.
Kind of like you said, it ripples from there. And eventually it's almost like this community. And then you go to a show together and it's like, it was always a good atmosphere, it's like kind of had that feel to it,
Well, when I think about it, when you think about a band like there's different states of a band. I mean, when a group gets together like in their 20s and they're going for it, that's a tall task, man. I mean, that's like basically saying, okay, we want to do this full time and we want to make a
Right.
living at it. Um, and so that gets you into the business side a little bit and gets you, it's tricky is what I'm saying for these bands that are trying to do that. It's a challenge. And for us, a lot of what was challenged for us was back then was being a little bit more consistent. It's like when you listen to a Beatles album, if you listen to some of those early albums, that have like Love Me Do and like Please Please Me and even like doing like Little Richard covers or something, Long Tall Sally, it's a little bit more consistent,
Yes.
the record. But if you go to like the White Album, it's very schizophrenic and awesome
Yes.
to listen to.
This way, that way, yeah.
But we had a little bit of that element to our band, even, definitely by the mid 90s, which was good creatively, but it was also a little bit, whoa,
Uh-huh.
if you listen to like Straight Around and you listen to a song like Straight that Stewart sings, it's kind of like a, just a funk.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I love funk.
Just like funk tune, which is cool. But then listen to Mercury Jones, and that's like dark, kind of more avant-garde sounding,
Absolutely. And that's where I was kind of going with it, is
yeah,
so many twists and turns to it. And that's why I think it stands up so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. At a live show, sometimes it can be challenging if you're going to throw that many wide-ranging sort of emotional bents. When people go to a festival and are pounding beers.
Well, that's why you just take mushrooms and everything's
hanging out, or mushrooms or pot or whatever they do. A lot of times they want to get onto a vibration and ride it for a while,
Wow, that is so cool.
You've been at a show, you're like, oh man, I want this to kind of rolling like this on a surfboard, just on a longboard, just going.
And just ride that wave.
Because there's a couple of instances going back, like Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, and then even Ben Harper. Like there's some times where like they're going and they're just jamming and everything's just clicking and that crowd's going. And all of a sudden they come, with like in our house, or something. It's like, and it's like the crowd's like doesn't know what to do with it sometimes.
Like that, yes.
Our house. It's a very
Hey, which is like one of the most famous popular tunes. But
my kids
at a live show and everything's rolling. It's like, whoa,
what is this?
My kids were blown away with that one. They're like, wait, this is Crosby, Stills, and Nash because they know it like from a commercial or something.
Exactly.
I'm like, yeah, it is. That's awesome.
That's something I've been really interested in is the song and the music and the venue, the sort of the room that it's being performed in. It's like, some of the best artists you like think about, like Charlie Parker and Miles Davis. What space do you envision their music being performed?
Isn't that rad? That's rad.
And it isn't the Hollywood Bowl.
No.
It isn't Nissan Pavilion, the SoFi Arena. That's where I hear like like a huge band like the Dead playing, like a big full sound, but I hear them in a club, in a jazz club. Yeah. And so that's part of sort of the live band thing is, what kind of sound is this? Is this more cabaret clubbish, or is it more like modern Fish? has changed their sound. It's much more arena.
Uh-huh.
Listen to Junta. Man, I hear it. Freaking amazing.
Uh-huh.
I picture that in like a college bar.
Oh,
Smaller, more intimate, and where you're hearing all these small lines go.
100%. I mean, there's nothing better than
I freaking love that.
And I mean, that's what got us into this podcast in the first place, the love of the live show. And
yes,
that's the guess, what is it? And different answers, but a lot of times it just centers around like the energy, like walking in, and the first time the lights go down, you hear that first note, and just everything. And we talk about that all the time, but what we don't know, what is it like from your perspective when you're coming out and night after night, and it's a job, right? And
and I mean, I tell you, I've felt the good.
And I'm sure, like, 94, 95, 96, the probably touring and stuff's good, but eventually, I mean, it's a job and it wears on you. I mean, I travel a ton, totally different for work, but you know what? You do that over it.
I mean, it's
and your voice too. Right? Wow.
Oh, that's no doubt.
But so I'd like to just understand more about that.
Yeah.
And just what is it for you that keeps you coming back, and that you walking out the first moment?
Well, I mean, that's again, over time, when you step away from this stuff and then get back into it a little bit, you get to rediscover the real, peel back the onion and get to the core of what you really loved about music originally. And that can get lost when you're on the ground.
I was gonna say, it's probably hard to do.
Yeah, but now it's when you have time and space, it's like there's no doubt when you go up to the stage, if there's a good crowd that's receptive to your music, it's a total thrill. There's no question about that. It elevates your energy and your performance. There's no doubt. Especially when you're young and more vulnerable to external stimuli.
Yeah.
You're older and you're more consistent, hopefully, and you can generate a nucleus of musical energy and feel and rhythm and synergy with the band that hopefully is more resistant to the fluctuations of whether it's a good crowd or whether it's a small crowd, and just do your thing and get inside that cocoon of sound and enjoy it.
Wow. That is, I understood everything you're saying. Some people are like, what is he even talking about? But that's
sorry,
no, that's totally cool. In that little cocoon, I like that where you said that little cocoon, you're just there in your moment.
Yeah.
And if they're feeling, if they're not, they are. If they are, they aren't,
Yeah. And that's the other thing is every single person that's there is connecting with you and the music. But all different ways. The way I'm experiencing connecting is different than Neil, and then us together is like different than me hanging out with these two over here. And it's like that little, it's all intertwined, that community and that,
and people can sense that. People can sense when a band is really in a mode and just sort of Dr. Strange, whipping up the little circle thing. You can sense that.
Dang.
So that's the goal.
Yeah. Oh, that is amazing. That's the goal. Yeah, you want to have that happen.
But so you may have also been to shows where you see the show and you're like, man, those guys they're just trying to get through this.
Right.
They're just trying to get through the notes and get to the next hotel,
100%. I've been to shows like that.
I mean,
you realize it as a crowd.
Yeah. Guns N' Roses is a good example. We went to Guns N' Roses, the Palace, and they didn't come on till 11 p.m. They're supposed to come at 9.
The Buckethead days.
Yeah. I mean, believe you me, they sounded great, but it was like, they just wanted to get in there and get the hell out. I mean, whatever.
It's
It was fun
tough.
for us, but
We did see the big reunion when they got back together with Slash at Ford Field. It was the first night when they all played. That was pretty sweet though. Like
That's cool.
like you said, you can tell that as you age, you kind of start realizing, where your bread's buttered, what's most important, and actually, connecting in different ways too, right?
yeah.
Because that has to change, I'm assuming, between you and your mid 90s to like now playing Broadbear, you guys have totally, and I went on the website and saw some of those live performances. And I kind of like, that's how I found you again. Because I always wondered, what happened, because you've always been in my rotation.
Oh,
well, I appreciate that. I think we're a band that I think for a lot of people that enjoy live music, we're on their radar, even peripherally. It's like, oh, I heard of those guys. They were kind of cool, kind of good. That Dave Matthews scene.
That is totally.
I think for us, right around the turn of the century, other priorities started entering life. In your 20s, you're such a free range chicken, and then you start getting more concerned about, growing up and all that. And I think that started pulling on us a little bit. And I think, just people wanted to explore other things. I mean, Brian, that guy's like a jazz composer, he's got all kinds of other projects, and JC's played with everyone, in the Richmond area and up and down the coast. Stuart's done a lot of recordings. But I don't know if y'all know this, but Brian and Stuart, they're the people playing the bass and drums on that hit song that Jason Mraz had, Remedy.
Oh, really?
That's Brian and Stuart from Agents.
Really? No, I never knew that.
From Agents. I love
That's
how
hilarious.
Yeah, check it out. That's them on the record.
Wow, I'll definitely have to check that out.
On that song, they didn't play on every song, but they're on
that song.
But on that one, huh? Now a reason for Jason Mraz to be in my playlist.
Yeah.
No, he was from the Richmond area.
Was he really?
I like Mraz.
No, he was always one of those fun guys, right?
His energy. He's like a child star. Like he could have been on a Disney show, like with Britney.
Well, but that goes back to live shows, and for me, it's like, especially when you got people playing instruments, and then kind of this multi-instrument thing, or ones you're not used to, and then you just, like you said, you feel that vibe, right? And
absolutely,
and you just get into it. And so I actually did see you live one time, back in 1998. It was the Planet Fest 96.3 local radio station. It was 1998 at Pine Knob Music Theater.
Nice.
And I remember this to a T. It was a Sunday. And I remember asking Neil, I'm like, hey, what are you doing today? Well, Neil likes his Sundays. And he's like, I'm going to sit this one out. So I called my one buddy, Gruey, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, I'm in. So just me and him showed up. And the whole reason I went was Agents of Good Roots was there.
Are you serious?
100%. I had never seen you live. I had been listening.
How the hell did you know about it? Had you seen One by One? Or maybe it was that press.
So when did One by One release?
That was like, God, right early 98, maybe.
So I had to either catch you early somehow, whether just from.
How had we gotten on your radar at all?
Yeah. That's what I still can't really pinpoint it, but then you were the reason we went there, and I'm like, oh wow! And Grantley Buffalo was playing; they were in the lineup.
Yeah, I remember that.
Grantley Phillips, I think, is actually the lead for that. And then it was the Wallflowers, and I actually wrote down the other ones: Duncan Sheik, Sixpence None the Richer, the Y Store. I mean, it was actually a really solid lineup.
They had some hits, man. Yeah, I think that was sort of a promo. Yeah.
And that was like 98. And then I'll never forget that show, because me and Gruey we didn't even watch the stage. We sat in this one area where everyone walks by and just people watch the entire day.
It's awesome.
And then it was like, all right, Grantley Buffalo's coming, so we went and watched them, you know, and then went back and sat in our spot. And then you guys came on, we went and watched that, and I was blown away. It was awesome to see you guys.
Really? God, hit
And-
you good.
You guys weren't doing any illegal drugs,
No,
though.
not at all. Might have had a few beers, you know.
No, not at
But
all.
you know, it's that thing where you hear, I love the record, but then to see it live. And there's so many bands that
our strength of our sound is probably live. It's we have a couple of cuts that I think have been pretty good recorded, but I think there's a way to record our band that I think we need to explore, that I hope to do soon.
Nice.
And you know, it's just it requires some of that live interaction that a studio piecemeal recording can kind of sterilize, you know. That's just, you know, part of it.
So that was one thing I wanted to actually kind of bring up too, is Neil's a big fan of the process. You know, like when you guys go into the studio, how does that work? Do you guys just go and kind of jam? Do you bring your own stuff and like
no. I mean, it's neat, you know, with social media and being able to get a window into like a lot of other bands' process, like watching footage of the Stones recording. I like the way they seem to do it, and like old footage of the Beatles that's been circulating on the internet.
Right.
I think we need to all four, and we've done this some, but not usually, get in the same room, get everyone off gadgets, you know, like nobody, just sit in the room, get your snacks, drinks, whatever, and just run through things.
Think about your craft.
It's like a chef going in with some raw ingredients into the kitchen. Start cooking.
Well,
you know,
I tell you what, I love where you're at with that. And if you need a couple of guys to document that process, I know a couple. I know a couple dudes that might be interested in that job.
It's two dudes right here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to be going in the studio in December, and we're going to do that in a big room.
Nice.
There's a great studio in Richmond called Space Bomb.
Space Bomb.
Nice. I love that.
And you know, it would be cool. You can cut this out if you want, but it would be cool for y'all to be able to put little things across your podcast at the bottom, like when somebody names something like Space Bomb Studios. Bonk, right there on the screen.
100%.
Andrew,
you know, or like
we are not that good at that stuff, but
you got to get it.
I know. That's what we need to do.
No,
and
absolutely.
then, we're refining our craft as well, you know.
No, 100%. And you know, and
we'll go in the studio and we're going to give it a chance like that, because
I love it.
I think you can really, with a band like ours, the feel of the band needs to come across, and that only really happens, I think, when you just capture the sound of what you're doing, away from all the gadgetry.
I couldn't agree more. So now it's still the original four, right?
It is unbelievable. Now we've been through 3 sax players.
But I mean, from the time where you kind of settled, I mean, it's been the same for wow,
since 94 probably.
Oh wow. Oh, so you went through the 3 pretty early on then. You found, and then you found, that's awesome. Because you don't hear that too much, you know, and you know, especially like us, you know, getting to the age where, you know, we're going to a ton of shows and it's like people we've seen.
Got a little time to go see.
But it's like, oh, there's 2 of the 4 people, you know, or 3, or, you know, whatever. It's just one of them. But to have the 4 of you and then getting back into the studio and kind of getting out there and like I said, seeing those, you know, some of the original songs, but kind of like that stripped down, little slowed down version of it. That was really cool to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, you know, you do love the energy of youth. That's a powerful thing, you know, that kind of gripping, pulsing, inner impulse to the music that youth brings. also, I mean, sometimes we play too fast. When I listen back to shows, I'm like, were we all like on speed? I mean, it's like we're just like on cocaine or something. And
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but it sounds like it. It sounds like
Right,
we're like,
right.
and so now it's like I kind of want to tap into that sort of the kind of head nod in music that you put in on a nice drive through the forest or up the coastline and just kind of
Road trip songs.
yeah, like let's put that on and really enjoy it. Let it, just saturate our field. I
I
mean,
don't
are
know.
there songs like that for y'all? What do
Yeah.
y'all listen for that?
I don't know if Cal said it before. I came in here a little late, but when we went down to Mardi Gras, we played your album.
Oh,
What? I'm thrilled. I'm excited.
Just
guaranteed
cruising.
it was played. And we always had like a rule on road trips when we would go somewhere. Like whoever was driving was in charge of the music. But on something like that, it was just me and Neil. We'd go back and forth. I'd play a CD, and he'd pick one, right? And you have the big book of CDs, right?
Yeah,
Hundreds of
it was a CD.
yeah, it was a CD. But whatever you picked, you had to listen song one to the very
Yes,
bitter end of it. So it had to
And
stand
to
up.
run
Give you
through.
that ride.
and
Absolutely.
every effing song on that effing album was fucking great.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, why would we ever change this? I think we did it twice. We did it twice on the way there and on the way home to Mardi Gras 2000.
17 hours each way.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wait for
That's
your car
awesome.
for a weekend, which probably you did something pretty similar in the early days.
Yeah. I mean, now, it's wild. It's like when we used to jam, in the jams, it always felt like, we had to kind of like you're kind of doing one of those like Ninja Warrior things, climbing this mountain like aggressively. And it's weird. It's like now it's like I want to, like, I don't know if you've ever listened to like A Love Supreme by Coltrane or something. It has that feeling like going for it, like
Grasping and
it's very
going.
dramatic and just powerful.
Uh-huh.
But like I kind of want to explore getting into an improv and just kind of not like it's a tsunami, but just kind of get up on a long coasting wave.
Uh-huh.
Just kind of sit on it. Don't bring it up. Don't let it down.
Yeah.
And
That
just
happy
ride
medium.
it and make it groove. And
Mhm.
that's
You
kind of
see the whole crowd got all at one, just grooving to it.
Unreal.
yeah.
I love
And
it.
just if you do that long enough, it's like somebody just kind of gently patting your back. You're eventually, or like petting the horse on the nose. You're
Right.
just going to eventually kind of like get
Right.
into it. That's kind of what
Absolutely.
I'm doing.
I love that, Andrew. That's awesome.
So the one thing, me just kind of thinking, and I was digging a little deeper. So you guys went on a little hiatus, kind of mid 2000s or whatever. But
Yeah,
what
time.
yeah. Which what? Shit happens, right? But
Right.
obviously there's something there, and there's that connection, you guys, that's all driving you back together. But I started thinking about it, and we talked about this a little bit on some of our other shows. It was like kind of towards the late 90s, music shifted, and there was multiple kind of tentacles, but for me it was like two major ones, right? You had all of a sudden like the Limp Bizkits and Korn and Linkin Park that were like dominating just everything.
Sure.
Kind of tail end of kind of the grunge stuff, right?
Sure.
And you guys came up, and you weren't really that. You weren't the grunge. You kind of, but for me, when I looked at that going into the 2000s, that's where I was looking into like Wilco, Uncle Tupelo, Sunvolt. Obviously, those were all born from each other, but old 97s, Ben Harper, Freddie Jones Band, those are the bands I started kind of, and that's where I brought you along with all of that. I'm like, no, you're not over there, you're coming with this. But and it was like we had this own, we used to go to shows at that time with like, we'd roll like 8-10 deep sometimes, just hey, we're gonna go, and everyone's like, yeah, and we go to all these shows, and it was just it was just a great environment. And like you said, there's some jamming going on, all this. Rusted Root was another one too that
Yep.
would always go to. And it was this big shift. And it's like when that happened, that probably kind of took some wind out of your guys' sails, I'm assuming. Because you felt like you maybe had momentum, and then all of a sudden it was like boom, and there's not enough over here. You have a really strong core of fans.
Well,
But
that's
not
what
that
I'm
wide
saying.
accepted, corporation type stuff.
Absolutely. That's what I was trying to kind of discuss a little bit when I talked about the White Album,
Right.
of having a sound that's a little bit more schizophrenic versus, oh, I'm going to go to this live music festival or this live show, and I kind of know what I'm going to get. It's like Mickey D's.
Uh-huh.
I know what a quarter pounder is going to taste like,
Right.
And so
It's delicious.
It is delicious. Hey, don't be a Mickey D's.
Yeah, I know.
They're still in business,
They're doing something right.
Yes. But I think for us, we had some of that kind of played against us in a corporate world with a record deal and stuff. That kind of gave us a different sort of vantage point. It was good in the long run, I think, because having that experience is pretty unique, actually, to have gone to Hollywood and recorded in the Hollywood Hills, hang out at the Viper Room. I mean, that was kind of neat, kind of dorky, but it was neat too.
Right.
And I think having that experience versus just sort of kind of like a Derek Trucks, man. God just kind of came up through that jam band sort of lineage and just kind of rode that wave,
Mm-hmm.
I think that was good. Whereas I think if we had just kind of stuck with that jam band scene and explored that more, it might have been a more marketable / sustainable product versus everyone, kind of fraying of the rope sort of
Right.
after 2000,
Right.
Maybe, who knows? Even if that goes consistently well, you get to be in that late 20s and people, their priorities are shifting.
Absolutely.
Unreal.
No, absolutely.
Dang.
But after all that, you guys are back. And so you are going back to this.
That's what I'm saying. Like you if you get away from something, if it was something you really loved, it's not going to leave,
Yeah, you get back. You still got that fire burning. You can tell just by talking to you. I mean, you can feel the passion just by talking to you here,
So we're soccer players.
Get right back into it. And then guys like athletes that their skill of being the top, Larry Bird's, they coach and they went to the NBA. You find a way to express it. And I mean, I'm totally all in on making some more music.
Awesome.
I know. And and the part that you said earlier that's already resonating with me is you went from grabbing for it, like always, like hustling, working, always, where now you're just resting in it. And that says a lot. And that talks, I mean, that's me. I mean, there was a point in my life I want to take over the damn world, but then you said priorities change, you get a little older, you want a little more balance in life, you want to be able to start a podcast, and it's like, you know what, sometimes just sit back and say, I'm good here, but now it gives me time to do this over here and do it how I want to do it. Right?
Totally, man.
I love it. Yeah.
You think about like developments in society back, from the Sumerians, when everyone's gardening and chasing a deer to put food on the table, there's not really time to create and build the food. But now we're a little older, I've got a family that I love and they're doing well, and other guys in the band have families. That takes up some of your bandwidth. but there is time as they get more their own feet under their ground, where you got this time and space where
Yes.
use it and do what you love. And
Use it. I love that. I love it. Yeah, use it.
That's what we've done here. The
I mean-
exact same principle. We're just on the other side of it from you.
Yep.
For example, like a band like Fish, didn't they kind of go on hiatus for a while?
Mhm. Oh yeah.
And Trey was going through some things and he
Yeah.
figured out some things. They got back together and they, you know, and that
Better than
I think
ever.
a renewed spirit. And
Right.
that's
Right. Whatever their experience was, but yeah, I love that renewed spirit. They got
Some-
back together.
Sometimes you just got to be Cain and walk the earth for a bit, and then you find out where home actually is. You know,
that's right.
better than
You're
ever,
right.
rejuvenated. Well, I mean, I can't thank you enough for joining us.
Yes.
This is so one. Actually, before so Neil, I don't even. Neil doesn't even really understand how this even happened, and so
Yeah.
I did want to actually just kind of so.
We'll recap.
You know, me being the new social media manager of Two Dudes and Killer Tunes, you know, I'm posting stuff and videos of shows and all the time. And, you know, having like that page, you end up connected to people you're never going to meet in your life, right? Well, I see someone that I'm connected with post Agents of Good Roots from Broadberry. And I'm like, holy crap, that was in August. So that's where immediately I'm like, are they touring? So then I find your website. And, you know, I see that you're doing some local stuff and looks like you even have something already planned out in May of 24.
It's gonna be a good show. Yeah. Check out Isaac Haddon. Isaac Haddon, Hadden. He's really good.
Isaac
Okay.
Haddon. Good. Good.
Gotcha.
He's
So-
from the Roanoke area. Anyway.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, you're in, you know, playing around Richmond and that. And then, you know, I kind of looked at the history, get, you know, kind of back together and whatever. And so you have the contact us thing. So I put my information in there and I mean, it was probably like midnight, you know, because that's usually when I'm up late and doing all my work. And then, you know, I'm sitting at my desk at work and all of a sudden my phone rings and it's a Virginia number, I believe, or whatever. You know.
Maryland.
No, it's Maryland. It's
Yeah.
Maryland. Shows up Maryland. I'm like, not answering that.
Damn.
And then I see the message and I'm like, holy shit, you know, so I hurry up and call him back. And I mean, we talked for like 10 or 15 minutes, I think, just the other day. And
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, and I dropped the bomb. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if you're busy Saturday, but you know, and here we are. I mean, it just, but you know what? Sometimes that's how things happen.
Yes.
You just got to go with it, you know?
Exactly. Sometimes you just have to just kind of open the door a little bit and take a look.
Yeah. Unreal. I love it because that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to be the most amazing Joe Rogan ever, but in 5-7 years, who knows? We
Yeah.
might be just two dudes in the
Right.
basement
Absolutely.
with 100,000 followers.
There's
Who
definitely
knows?
space for that of exploring these bands that kind of, you know, that are very interesting bands, have interesting stories and sharing their music. I mean, they'd love to get on your.
Absolutely. And you
Thank
know,
you
that's
very
where,
much.
you know, we started out. I mean, so like my kids have been on it, you know, Neil's sister, my brother. So we've had a lot of family, but we've had friends we literally haven't seen in 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, and
They're
now
like,
I'm-
hey man, what's up? You know,
exactly like the one guy we hadn't talked to in 32 years, you know, and he shows up in the basement on Cinco de Mayo and we talk for like 2 hours. And now I'm going to see Ben Harper with them in a couple of weeks, you know, so.
absolutely.
So it's like reconnecting with everyone. And that's the thing. We've gone to shows and it's like all these guests, we've gone to like 6 shows and we're with all these people, you know, it's that community again. That's what it comes down to.
Social media, it's got its foibles, it's got problems.
Yeah.
But man, this kind of stuff is the magic of it. Really
Absolutely.
being able to reach out to anybody. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. You're unbelievable. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I
Andrew,
can't even fucking.
Yeah, I mean, I can't thank you enough for being here
Yes.
with us. I'm super excited.
Yeah,
To hear,
anytime, man.
yeah, I'm super excited to hear about how things go in December when you guys get in that room and just kind of, you know, work some music out. I would love to stay in touch. And I'm
Yes.
not joking. I'd like to get out to Virginia and
Yes.
check a show out. So
When
we'll
you said that, I was
definitely,
like, dude, we have to go to a show.
absolutely. We haven't had a
That
road.
May-
We haven't had a road
that
trip
show
probably
is
since
great.
Mardi Gras.
That show in May is going to be great. Anyway,
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm really
Cool,
looking
brother.
forward to it. It's awesome catching up with you.
Yeah.
And you know what? I expect you to be stronger than ever, just like you said.
thank you, sir.
All right, take care. Nice talking with you.
Dude, thank you.
All right.